Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik and this is now our part number 4 of the setup of the original first turn setup of my game and some tactics and maybe tips or suggestions about how you can play the Japanese. I discussed already about the difference between ally player and the Japanese player. What is the main difference? And some special rules. I also normally discuss roughly about the airframes, what can do, and maybe how you choose best your airplanes. I maybe can talk about this in the next episodes. I would simply say we can check shortly only the engines is always a typical question. Is I explained already what kind of engine you can produce or not produce. Like I would say the H31 you don't need produced, you have still 245 in pool. This you don't need, this one you don't need, this you also don't need, the H5 you also don't need. And these special engines, also the H42 you don't need, this engine, the rocket engine, the turbojet engine, you normally don't need them. You need the H60, you need the H45, you need the H43, 44, 42 you don't need normally. And you would better try to produce 32, 33, 35 and 34. And the 35 you really try to boost fast in, let's say, 3 months or 4 months to reach the 500 engine pool, so that you can get the R&D boost. You can do this, but keep 2 things maybe in mind. First, you can never produce new factories, so these are all the engine factories you have. If you have this R&D choose by player, whatever how you call it, then you can switch always between production and R&D, but you can never switch between engine production and R&D and airplane production. So this is still split. So you have a fixed amount of engine factories and R&D tools, and you have a fixed amount on aircraft or airframe production and R&D tools. And like I said before, never go over 30. But if you want to go for something, then best go in the early turns, go to 30. Don't try to increase 10 factories per month or like this. You must choose what is your, if you want to go for the maximum, this is 30, then go at early as possible for the 30. And if you say, no, I don't need really the 30, for me 20 are fine or 15 are fine, then go for this. Also keep in mind, if there's a factory over 30, I mean, for engines this doesn't matter because they don't have an upgrade pass at all. But still, I would say if the factory is much over 30, really only change the production of this factory if it's really necessary. I mean, the 180, if I change this now, I lose 30%. This is a lot. If I change this 11, I also lose 30%, but compared to the 180, it's simply much less loss of production. So keep this a little in mind. And similar, this is normally also for Air Force R&D. So take the time, think twice about what you really want, check the engine, and make sure that if you want to have this airframe, that you also have the engine sooner or later. Because if you only produce if you only develop an engine but you don't have an airframe, use this engine, then it's useless. And of course, if you have an airframe but not the engine, then it's also useless. So you need always both. Normally the engine is always earlier finished than the airframe, but you need at least both. And with the factories, I told already, you can increase maybe in Japan the top 10, or if you see the top 10 cities here, you can increase everything maybe 20 or everything 50 like this. But I would simply also, if I later want to upgrade something, focus better for China, Manchukuo, Korea, and maybe Malaya, Vietnam, and this area. You can better increase slowly the heavy industry. Okay, so far, and I talked about upgrade of ships, speed, how fast I want to produce ships, and what I want to stop and what I want to change, and all this I already explained. I also explained what type of ship I want convert and why I want to convert them. Okay. Now we can simply, and I also talk about that what you want to take out of Manchukuo. I want choose to take a whole armies out, the whole Korean army, the whole 6th army, the whole 2nd army, whatever. I would obviously take the whole army. Take some Air Force stuff or Air Base stuff here out, but not all. You cannot take all airframes out. And remember to take always, was one Haben? Yeah, and Haben. The 2nd Air Division, as I said already, takes this also with all the airplanes out. And choose the locations where you want to make your airport. Like I said, you can use this one at the beginning, but you don't must invest here much. You have an airfield free already. Only make sure that you have always enough aviation support, so you must bring here as soon as possible roughly maybe 50, 60, 80 aviation support, or you cannot run really a lot of airplanes here. And then normally I choose this one because it's easy to upgrade, maximum 7, maximum. You have here something similar, and so on, and I think I talked about this already. Here, Henko, you can also bring this base a little up, also possible, only you have no rail link later, only this highway. And also Amoy and Canton only. Okay, what I choose, my way was that I bring 2 full armies. If we talk about now China, I normally always take the Mongolian army, because you can check here in the north part of China, there's something like the Mongolian army. Is this one? Mongolian Garrison Army. You can touch always and check what is here all part of this army. And you can see this is maybe 1 full division and 1 mixed brigade. And because this 3, you can see if there's a star, then it's always a part of. You can touch this, and then they say, okay, these are these 3 regiments plus the engineers plus the artillery plus the tanks, and so all together will build the 26th division. Now you can see also 2 things. You can see first what is all part of the 26th division, and you can see that they're all belonging to the Mongolian Garrison Army, except this one. So this one is not part of this army so far. Means I would normally suggest, if you have similar setups like this, that everything belongs to one army but one part not, that you find this special part or whatever different headquarter, and then normally change it as soon as possible if you have the points. then you must know, I think the Mongolian army belongs to the Chinese expedition army, so you can see here's a Mongolian garrison army. Then I touch this, then they say I must pay 74 points for this, I say yes. Now I can touch again to the whole upgrade path of this division, then you can see now all belongs to the same. The next job I have is to bring all these units in the same city. Have the same status, like moving, combat, something, they must all have the same status. Then you can make out of this a competition. Normally this is always a advantage to try to create the division. After you create the division, you can still break a division in 3 regiments, but these parts are always, this will split in these 3 regiments. So once you make this division, you can still break it into 3 units, but every unit will be stronger than this one. This is simply like the basic regiment now. If you create this division and then break it again, then it's a improved regiment with additional support units. So you must normally find this always. Check the armies, see what belongs to the army, see if there's some part missing, if it makes sense to move something around. And then always try where one part is wrong and try to fix it. But keep in mind you don't have unlimited points, and the first thing I would say is take this army from Manchukuo. This Mongolian army is the next part, and then maybe there's some more. So, and if you want bring all these units together, wait, who was here? So they are all now in Tatung. I mean, not all, but most of them are here already. And 2 units are in different locations. You always can touch this, and then you will jump where it is. So you can see this unit is in Manchukuo. So you will normally choose this unit, bring it in strategic move, and then say, okay, I won't bring you here, because the rest of the units are already there. Okay. This is this one unit. Then the next unit is missing. Looks like here. Then you also can see this have no assault level, so you don't must care this so much. Because of garrison request, you can also bring it here. So, and then you will make each unit need 1 day to prepare, and maybe this unit maybe need only 1 day to arrive, and the other unit maybe need 2 days or 3 days to arrive. So latest after 3 days, you can maybe check if they arrive. After they arrive, because the rest of the units are here and they're in combat mode, you normally must unpack them. Or the other option is you prepare these units already and bring them in strategic mode, because then they still have all the same operation mode. If you want make this combination, you must only make sure that they all have the same operation mode. Yeah. And so you normally check around and try to create these divisions. And only because I am used to it, I would simply say I try to collect all these Mongolian forces and try to first destroy this unit and then maybe move up to Hami. And from Hami you can normally keep here maybe a block force and first clean up these 3 cities and then go down. It still of course depends how aggressive and how the allied player is acting here. If you try to run away immediately, normally you cannot catch him. Even with first you don't have the air support too much. I think up to this location you can maybe make air support. Later you don't have the range more. Or you need a Yinan to get air support. But Yinan is not so easy to catch, so yeah. So to walk on the main road or highway is always much faster and more easy to support the unit. The small roads I would only take if it's really... they still okay, but you cannot run too much units and support them with the small roads. Or you will simply have some suffering in the supply area. So Mongolian units normally go here north and take care of this north. I choose to bring 2 fully armies this way and go directly for Xinjiang because... Oops, not this one, this one. Because there's simply a road. It's a main road, but not a highway. But it's okay. It's like the small roads. It's... Of course, it's not perfect, but there is a road non-stop. So you will get supplies. And if you saw my episodes, or if you saw the maybe what Dojo record, and I will do also my turns later, I think I surprised maybe Dojo how easy I drive here this line, and he not really realized in time that he cannot hold these 2 cities because he lost Nanyang and he lost also Xi'an. And it's also for the ally player not so easy to move here back. The easy way for the ally player is normally takes the main road. But if you take this road, it's also much slower. Especially if you can bring here Air Force, and from Kaifeng use the Air Force to always bombard everything. Then everything slows down. You can also turn this table around and say, okay, if you are the ally player, what you will try. If you try to hold these 2 cities, because they have some... I don't know if they are both clear terrain, so they don't get a defense bonus. They have some points, they have some resources, they have light industry, so they produce supplies. Nothing crazy important, but they have this river defense. So if the Japanese try to attack, they must cross the river, and the first battle will be always a little bloody for the attacker if he crosses the river and not immediately can break the defense. So you can try to hold them, but they have the risk that if the Japanese can cut your rear area, then you are in trouble. So maybe if you are the Chinese or the Allied players, you try to bring all back and you try to hold Nanyang, but this is also normally clear terrain, so there's no defense bonus. So normally these 3 cities are really hard to defend. So it means also for the Japanese it's not hard to attack them. I would only not try to cross the river directly inside. I would always maybe suggest cross the river here and then walk inside the city. Or walk here around and come from behind. But I think the best way is walk here around, take this city, and then take this city. And then take this city. Or you first go like, I did this, I walk here and I come from source and I combine my armies here and I take first this city. At the same time I bring here my armies and I take this city, and then he was trapped. I also would always say, you cannot hold Aishang. It's impossible. There are simply too many units here around. You cannot see it all, but if you open the ally setup, and then you can also see the first turn, then you know what forces there are around. And if the ally player bring all here, it's impossible to hold it. You can wait 1-2 turns or days, but in the long run it's not possible to hold it, and it's also not necessary to hold it because there is really nothing for you. Here's no industry, nothing. If you hold this city or not, I mean, you can see it's also from the point. 2 points for the Japanese, 6 points for the Allies. It doesn't matter. So fall back, and Here you can already hold this because it's clear terrain and this is wood, so you get always double points here. So it's much easier to hold this hex. And you have your main road. Then you can see if he's coming. If you use recon airplanes, I would always suggest to always try to check these cities, like this here, also these cities, to see how he focuses power, his armies, where he's moving. It's a really, maybe there are 3 important parts what the Japanese Air Force must do in China. First, try to find the enemy fighters and kill them. Second, but this is a mix of this, protect your own bombers. But I choose more to sweep enemy bases before I escort bombers, but you must see how the allied player is working. If he accept your battle, yes or no. And the next is try to interdict every enemy unit is nearby your bases, nearby your forces. Don't try to attack what is too far away. It doesn't matter if you attack these units, you'll never really catch them. Try to attack what is next to your armies, so you can catch them with your ground forces and force them to battle. The Chinese have more guys, more army guys, or more bigger army, but they have first not the equipment, second they have not the supplies, they have not the morale, they do not have experience, so simply 1-to-1 they're much weaker. But if you let them come together and then they outclass you 1-to-3, then you have a problem. So you normally must try to catch them fast and kill them one by one before the allied player has the chance to reorganize his forces. The Japanese army setup is also not perfectly, but it's still acceptable maybe at some point. You can maybe invest one week. If you invest 1 week to organize your forces, it's maybe okay. Also to bring the Manchukuo armies, maybe you need for all of this, bring them in strategic transportation modes and move them here to the front line, then unload them, change again back to move mode. This all will need 1 week. So after 1 week you must normally be ready and organize your forces, and then you must try to attack. At the same time you must use your air force to interdict this unit so that they cannot walk so fast. You try to shoot down some enemy fighters. And third is always that you use your recon units, air force, to have the most important towns near the front line. I mean, you don't must care this behind front line. Even Xi'an I would not care, or Yan'an, because it doesn't matter how many forces there are now. You must always know what is next to your armies. So 2 or 3 hexes from your big armies away you can scout, but everything what is more far away, I would say it's not so important. Once the allied player take Yishang, you normally can better keep a recon unit here to make every day a picture, so that because if we can bunch up here 100 or 150,000 guys, and everywhere where you can see something about, if there is some force with 100,000 or plus 100,000, I will always keep an eye on it, that you know where is this big unit going, if it stay, if it's move, where it will move, so yeah, you always can act. Yeah. Okay, this is only roughly about this. I drive 2 units directly on Xi'an. I drive 1 army to Yan'an to try to block it. If my operation Xi'an and it was successful, I take Xi'an, so I say then I can starve them out. At the same time, you also must bring 1 army from the east of China and 1 maybe from the south. So you try to manage what you have here. Like you first make a fast strike here in direction of Changsha, only to make sure that you don't come close to your city, and then you fast walk back and attack Nanyang, and try to link up your forces. But it's I only can say what I did and what was my thinking. But you always must check what the ally player is doing. So, and sometimes even your best strategy or best thinking can fail if you don't react and check what the enemy is doing. And like, if I bring all my forces here in direction Nanyang, and I bring also my forces here in Nanyang, and the ally player is simply moving back everything to Xi'an, then I can maybe not catch him. And at the same time, maybe he bring all his forces to Wushang. Then I must react. I cannot bring all my forces in this direction. If the Chinese try to push here, or if we bunch up here and try to take Kaifeng. So you can roughly only say if the numbers are 1-to-1, then the Japanese always will win normally the battle. If the Chinese have triple the numbers, then it's equal, I would say. And the Chinese are much better for defending something than attacking something. So I think even a triple amount of, I would say like this: if I'm the Japanese, I try to have triple amount of attack value than the Chinese to get an easy victory. If the Chinese have triple attack value, they will still struggle to win the battle. I think the Chinese need maybe 5 times the attack value to beat the Japanese force. Okay, this is about the center part. At the end you can, because this northern part is very slowly and not really important, it will not really break China, it will not win the war with you. So long the Chinese can hold this city, this is the most important city in the north. These two cities, or these two cities normally. So if you take this backland, it's maybe not nice for the Chinese, but it's not really important. He must only keep these two cities. And Xi'an, this chain. If the Chinese can hold this city's chain, then they are fine. And similar to this bunch of cities, if the Chinese can hold this city, they're also fine. But they also must keep these two cities. So these two cities are also very important for the Chinese. They can lose this all. This is not really important, and this is also not important. But these 3 cities and this bunch of cities, they are the line normally a Chinese allied player must hold. And can hold normally because you can see they are always... you can maybe give up this, but this city, you can see clear is always no defense bonus. So these cities get no bonus. But this city you get a bonus. Here you get the wood, is double points. This thing is even triple points, also double or triple points. So these are the cities where normally the allies can hold you and are very hard to beat. So it is better to lure the allied player in a battle where you can beat him first before you go for this hard to conquer cities. How you do this, it's always hard to say. You can try to drive here a super big force and go immediately here and try to run this way and ignore all this, let the allies hold these cities, and you only drive with a lot of strength this line and really try to take this city and this city and this city. Here you must keep a lot of bunch of units also here later, so that he cannot counterattack. Because if you just cut these 3 cities, then all the source part of China is cut from the rest of. Then you really cut it in 2 pieces. Similar to here in the north, if you can drive in Xi'an and bring your forces up to here and hold Xi'an and this city, and maybe then you must also take these cities. If you can cut here, then the rest is also cut. But here is not so much that it's really not so important. But cut here, and then China is simply only very small territory left. I don't know, it's you have many other options. You can also say you try to with force and bring down and try to defend and destroy this whole units and then go slowly along the railway. It's you have a plan, and then you will see what the enemy is doing. I simply would say use your air force, scout, try to kill enemy fighters, and try to bomb what you can bomb. But yes, this will require supplies, so you will have to ship supplies from Japan to China. It will burn your supplies. It's more like this is an aggressive option. You can also simply say you only clean up all the forces here and try to take these 3 cities, and you take these 2 cities and maybe these 2 cities or this southern part, and then you slow down. And then you say you take all out what is easy to take out, you take your air force out, and you only keep the Chinese a little busy. Then you will not burn so many supplies in China. Then you can use these supplies to be more aggressive in Burma or somewhere else. And yeah. So you normally Nanjing or Nanking is more or less here the capital for this Chinese expedition army. So you can see this is 9 or 5-star general with a radio of 9. So then you can touch this guy, and then you can see already all units, HQs. So these units are all belonging to this Chinese expedition army. You can see this is a Navy unit. So they are in Shanghai, they only take care that loading, unloading Shanghai, get a bonus. Then you have these 3 normal 3-star generals, and you have 2 5-star generals. But this is a police army. You can always see this flag, so it's only a police guy. His support is like a normal 3-star general, but so he's only a he's not so really important for you. You can use him to. I would always keep this heavy guys maybe in a bigger city like Nanjing, Shanghai, because he have a range of. This guy have only a range of 1. So because he's a police, he's only I don't know. He is officially a 4-star general, but he don't have the abilities normally for this. You can also see that his skills are shitty. This is really. He's a general only in the name, but not in his skills. So he's some Chinese guy. They simply he give him some money, and then he say, yeah, okay, I work with you Japanese. I'm your puppet, and that's all. You keep him here, maybe he will boost the supply situation so that units here get always the maximum or over maximum of supply requirement. Means if you have a unit is like this unit. No, this unit is okay, but this unit is still not ready really to fight. You can see there's a lot of stuff is still disabled. And if you bring this unit like now in Nanjing and you go for rest and you make sure that you have at least over 10,000 supplies, but normally at least you need supplies, then this unit will have a high chance to reactivate these disabled units and bring them active. And once this is all more or less done, and you have this numbers, this is the maximum, the official maximum amount of units this army or division can handle, then you can bring this division out in the fight. If you can wait so long, it's up to you. But I would only say this big headquarters, 4-star, 5-star, they have the main ability to give normally a combat bonus if they are in range, but they also have this support bonus if they're in the same hex. Because if you check this one now, you can see this unit have not more this support bonus. This unit required normally a support of 100, but itself only have 80 support units. You can see here. This has the 80 from the unit, but for maximum efficiency it needs external support because it asks for 100, but you don't have this. And this unit is next to Nanking, so this one radius is a bonus for combat, not for support. This support only works if you are in the same hex. So you must walk this unit always with the army. If it's an attack like a 3-star general, always walk with the army. This kind of forces maybe you keep better in a big city near the front line. So once you had a battle and you suffer, then you better go back and wait 1 week, and then maybe the army is already back, ready for fight. You can also try to bring all these forces always at the front line, with the front line, but sometimes the bigger cities, they simply are more easy to handle big supplies, and the unit to recover also need a lot of supplies. So yeah, that is why I would say you don't must bring them all to the front line. You can also keep them in a big city nearby, or a city you can reach easy. Yeah, and what I said already, you have at the beginning, you have this garrison request with many of these Chinese cities, and you have a lot of your okay or even good. This is a shitty, of course, it's police force, is artillery, and but you have many of these forces. They are okay, standard soldiers, nothing, no elite, nothing, but they are more or less trapped here. You can normally use them, but if you bring this army out, with this, you can see assault value of 364, but you have a request here of 320 and only 400 is inside. So if you take this army out, immediately the industry will be damaged. This will gets damaged, and also your industry. So all this stuff also gets damaged by partisan. This is this partisan garrison rule. So you normally must say, okay, find some Chinese chitty units, bring them here, so that you can free up your Japanese armies, and then make sure this army or this division belongs to the North Chinese area. This is a 5-star general. You can always find this. You can catch this again and check only HQ, and then you can see here's the North Chinese area. They are now in Beijing. So you can touch now Beijing. And then you can see that here is a 4-star general, North Chinese army. And there is also this NCPC. This is also a police force HQ. So this unit you also can keep in a big city like Beijing. And then you have Nanjing and Beijing to heal and reinforce your defeated or heavy damaged units. If you lose only 10 or 20%, I would not bring it back. But if one of your units are really heavy damaged or even destroyed, then you can organize and set up something like this. So this is only for this headquarters without real fighting abilities, because they don't really support much. And also, they only give this bonus if the unit is linked to it. So this is a Japanese general. You can even see that this is a 4-star general with a radius of 5, and this is a Chinese 4-star general with a radius of 1. And you can see first the general skills are much weaker. You can see the support is weaker, but you also can see that the range is different. So this is the active fighting unit. This guy with his skills, with his radius and much better supplies, you can maybe move. Then you can check what belongs to this army. Then you can see he have a little more real forces. So he have 2 divisions, 3 divisions, plus your, this is also, always if you see a star, then you know, okay, you can do something out of this. You touch them and then you can see, okay, there is an upgrade possible. There is a 63rd division. If you don't have this, like this first independent mixed brigade, there's no star, then you see there's also no upgrade more. This is the maximum. This is the highest level for this unit already. Okay, and this is only some for this organization. Bring the armies together, let them stay in the same hex with their HQ if it's a 3-star general, and some of these 5-star HQ or 4-star generals, they also can work for the strike. Okay. I think this is first enough for China because this is the beginning. This is a fresh map, so there's no command so far for me. This is not my setup. I only use this first to explain. Later, next time if I load my turn, then you can see my final setup, and then we will turn by turn see how my strategy is working. Okay, for this Thailand stuff, you have one choice to make, and this is more or less how you use this army. Here's the 15th army. The 15th army have 1 division and some support stuff, maybe a total attack value of like 2 divisions maybe. And originally they have the order to go for Rangoon. So you can take this 15th Japanese army, and then you have also in Bangkok, not all, but you have this Thai forces, this Thai divisions. The problem is that many of these Thai divisions have similar to the Chinese, they are something like police force. They are not real army guys, and they have a very high disabled unit part. So normally they need 1 month. You must bring them all to Bangkok and wait maybe 1 month to get all these units online back for active duty. So maybe you can do this, bring all your Thai forces to Bangkok, try to heal, and at the same time you bring your 15th army down to Malaya and maybe take the western road with the 15th army, and the 25th army you will unload with amphibious assault in the eastern part of Malaya. So that the 25th army takes this road, the east, and the 15th army can take the west road. Or if you say you don't have the time, you drive the 15th army directly in Rangoon and try simply to take Rangoon before the allies can bring additional forces here. And then you maybe also take the Thai forces and say, I take this damaged Thai forces, at least they can fight, they can support. And then you quickly overrun Rangoon. The downside is, of course, if you take Rangoon, you don't must push much more, but if you take Rangoon in the southern part, then already no supplies can go to China, and this will hurt China. But this is first a small road. You will invest here at least 1 month, I would say. At least 1 month you need here. And if you bring all these forces in this area, you will miss them in Malaya. So it's simply a question, what is your focus point? I try to bring all to Malaya to get Singapore before end of January, and then I switch to Rangoon to say, and I take Rangoon before end of February. So December is to organize, January is to take Singapore, February is to take Rangoon and Burma. You can try to take all at the same time, but I don't know if it's faster. I don't know if maybe you can take Rangoon with these units, but I don't know how easy it is to take with only one army Singapore. Maybe this will then needs longer. In worst case, you would take Rangoon and go up to here maybe, because then it's over. After this heavy mountains comes, it's very, very slow everything here. And after you arrive here, you can maybe only keep your Thai forces to block this, and then bring the rest back to Malaya and help this other army to finish Singapore. But what is really fast, I don't know. But these are options. You can always choose. And you must also see how the enemy is acting and reacting. Okay, this is a choice. You have this army and you're free to choose. You go for Malaya or you go for Rangoon. These are the two options you have. You can also do crazy stuff like you bring them to Bangkok and then you ship them from Bangkok to Manila to help in Manila, but possible is all, but I don't know if this really makes sense. And about the Philippines, we will see this if I start my turn. The original setup is more like, the original setup asks you to take this northern part of the Philippines and this southern part, and then more or less go from this north island to the center, and from the south go to the center. And the distance is more or less the same, so you will meet in Manila and Clarkfield more or less. The only problem is that all this south part and all this north part have no real value for you. You can take it, but there's nothing really important. So what I choose is more or less I land directly in San Fernando, because here is the airport already. Level 3 is okay, you build it to level 4 and everything is fine. And you can also land here. I don't know if we would do this again the next time, because I think it's not really so okay. I mean, you not really need this base so much. You need San Fernando for the airport. This is important. And maybe you can also take here the base, because here is also an airport you can use, but something around these 3 bases you must take. You cannot go for this, you cannot go directly for Manila, because everything goes over Bataan, and Bataan have a very strong minefield and a coast battery, so it's impossible to land in Bataan, Manila, and this is also, you cannot land in Clarkfield because I think it's not possible, because you can see here's a red line. Red line is more or less forbidden. There are some cliffs or whatever. It's not possible to land from this water hex in this hex. And similar to the source, I land directly south of Manila, because there is not much defense here. They are all, you can see 2,000 guys or something like this. And you can land here and here. I also did this. And then you cut off everything what is south of Manila is cut off. And then you only try to take Manila as soon as possible, because Manila is the resources, is the light industry, is everything. Once the Japanese take Manila, there is no production of supplies more in the Philippines. Then all these army units will consume the supplies, and if the ally player wants to support this unit, he must use cargo ships to bring in supplies. So this is why Manila is normally, I would say, the first most important you take in the Philippines, only to make sure that the allies start to starve. The second most important is normally Clarkfield, because without Clarkfield there is no air force left. The allies cannot run normally much airport from, I mean, it's possible, but it have no real efficiency way more. So Manila first, Clarkfield second normally. And all these other islands, you can wait, they are really not important. All this is normally not important. You can take it in the first week, or you can wait 2 months. I would only simply say end of February you better be finished with this cleaning here. And yeah, the original units are designed to land in the Philippines, are enough to win, but it's a struggle. So normally try to check Japan, and every unit you can get for free out of Japan and have some fighting power. I would always bring your source of Manila, or yeah, it's not important of source or north of Manila, but bring it to the Philippines, feed the armies of the Philippines. This is really Clarkfield is a really hard, it's jungle rough, so triple defense points. Manila double defense, and also Batan's double defense. And I would simply say, before you burn your armies here completely out, make sure that whatever you can find, bring it to the Philippines. And you have here to check a lot. And then you also get, the other question is, if you have points left, I simply wait always for 2000 points, and then I buy a whole division out, because they are here something like this, or this is a part of a division. I mean, I don't buy this because they need so long time to finish, but they are also older, maybe in Osaka. Yeah, this is a whole division. Normally you can try to buy them out as soon as possible. You need 1,500 points, but you don't get, I think you get 50 points per day or 25 points per day, I don't know more. So it needs some time to get so many points. So first check what you can get out of Japan, then bring it to the Philippines. I would simply first say, always bring it to the Philippines is first shorter compared to Manila. But and you also need it more in the Philippines. The only special rule what I would always also first check is where the armies belongs to, because you have like stuff like this. You must check, okay, here is a unit in Japan, they belonging to the 16th army, and then okay, where the 60 armies is just now. Then you can check this, and then you can see that some forces are on the task force, like they're here back in Japan. Oops. Wow. This was a mistake. Whatever now. I know. 16th army. No, not this. So they are under some task forces, or they are already in. No, they all want to load. No, I'm making a mistake. So some forces are still here. These are part of the this is part of the Southern Army. Okay. So this is really, you must always check where this unit belongs. You can see this is now in Iwaki. So this is on the mainland of island of Japan. Then you can see that two other parts are in task force 124. And this task force of 124 is now here in the harbor. And the direction is going here to Kuching. Then I don't know if it really makes sense to bring this, I don't know if you want to bring this to Borneo, Because Borneo is the only thing what you need is Miri, Brunei, because there's oil, and then Tarakan and Balikpapan, and the other islands are not so really important. And so I would say, I don't know if you want to send units here or better send it first to the Philippines. But the original idea, what I want to show is the 16th Army. Then you must normally say, where is the 16th Headquarter Army? Where is the 16th Army? How to see this? I think you can. There are two options. Here's the 16th Army. So the 16th Army is part of the Southern Army. And because I know this now, I think it's in Singapore, Saigon. Here's the Southern Army. Then you can check here the ground armies, and you check for HQ, and then you can say where's the 16th Army HQ now. Then you can check the 16th Army HQ is now here. Okay. Here's the 16th Army HQ. And normally then you can think, okay, where's the 60 Armies HQ? Then okay, where's all my forces? Then you can see that some forces are here also. These two forces are with the HQ together. Then some stuff is in Japan. Some stuff is what we just saw is loading and is on the way to Borneo. Some stuff, Takao is Taiwan. Kagoshima is in south of Japan. So all this stuff is all a little mixed. So they all belong to the same HQ, but they are everywhere. And normally what I would say, this is not so good. So you can see here are divisions or part of a division. Here's a whole division. They are here, they are preparing the attack on Hong Kong. So this 16th Army is completely over the map. It will need a long time to organize these units together. And you must choose where you want focuses. Normally I would say try to bring this 16th Army here south of Manila, and you conquer Hong Kong because you need Hong Kong as soon as possible because there's a big shipyard, and you can rearm and fix all battleships and heavy cruisers here. The heavy cruisers you can also fix and rearm in Saigon, but for battleships you need Hong Kong, because there's no other harbor here big enough normally to support battleships. So if you don't bring them to Hong Kong, you normally always must go to Japan, and simply to save time you better try to get Hong Kong fast. And yeah, so conquer Hong Kong, and after you took Hong Kong, you can take the 16th Army Division and try to bring it to the Philippines. You also bring your HQ to the Philippines, and everything else bring to the Philippines and get rid of this. Okay. This about because what else you want to do with the 16th Army? You can always use the 16th Army to rush for Java or something, but simply I would say this is too dangerous. Before you can attack Java, you normally need Balikpapan. You must have the east coast of Borneo. You also must make sure that here is nothing more active. Or if you try to bring your invasion fleet this far away, and then there are submarines or bombers and half of your fleet is destroyed, only to rush for Java? Nah, I would say this is too risky. So better use the 16th Army to support the attack on the Philippines. And I think the main force attack for Philippines is... I don't even know where they are. Here's a lot of stuff. you can see the original, the map design, or whoever designed the game, he say more or less we want land here in the north. You can see. But this I would say is maybe this is historically correct, but from the game point it is you can do this, but it's not the best way. So and here is the 14th army, so you can see here is the 14th army. Then you can check what all belongs, and then you can see some stuff is still here on the islands. Some stuff is also still here, you can see. So we have here units belonging to the 14th army, and the 14th army is normally prepared for the attack on the Philippines. But this unit is here and have the order to go for Davao. But Davao is here. And you don't must take Davao really in a rush. So I would also say this army is with the HQ, bring them together, let them stay in the same hex, let them fight together, get them all, get this HQ bonus, and then you can simply rush. So this is really, before you can here set up some stuff, you normally must find all these HQs. You get a feeling what the HQ can do, where the units belonging to the HQ are, how you best and fast bring them together that they can fight together. Or if you want to change the unit HQ link, so that you say, no, this unit belongs not more for this HQ because there's other HQ just nearby and you won't pay them. But to change the HQ is always expensive, because it's the last option, I would say. The first option, if you have a political point, is always to buy units out of Japan, because these units are locked in Japan. They are locked in Japan, so they are trapped here. If the HQ is already free to travel but have not the right HQ, then it's not perfect, but the unit can still fight. And the units are here locked in Japan, cannot fight. So I buy first out of Japan what it makes sense before I change here the HQ a lot. Okay. Okay. So check this bases and check the HQs and check if it makes sense for you. I think this is a little complicated. And here I talked about already over this Marshall Islands. From all these islands I only take these two bases, simply because they are all small. You cannot one base simply cannot hold too much. So, and they are next to each other, so they can easily support each other. And you have here already the max airfield of 4, and here you have the possibility to make a port of 5. So the port of 5 is safe against any submarine attacks, and it's already enough to repair some stuff and reinforce normally all submarines and destroyers very fast, even like cruisers. And if you want to have a lot of air force, you can take this airfield, and then this is a good match each other. Each island is only maximum 6,000 people, so you cannot bring here too much units, but this is why it's split it. And all these other islands, they're simply not better, and they also have only 6,000, and then they're more far away. This is my tactic. Yeah. I also would always suggest to take Wake fast in the first 1 or 2 weeks before the Americans can reinforce Wake, because it's hard to take this Wake Islands if the enemy bring too much reinforcements here. If you bring, also you can, this is a stack limit of 6,000, you cannot bring too many invasion fleet here or forces, or they will very fast suffer, because it's simply not enough space for so many guys on this island. So you cannot take unlimited force to take this island, or you will suffer a lot, because your guys simply die because there's no space. So you must take normally these islands always with an elite force, a small elite force with enough bombardment support or air cover support. Make a short but strong, fast strike to disable the enemies, and then you land some Navy Guard units here. And take it quick. Wake is important. Midway is already a choice. I don't go for Midway because it's maybe nice to have, but first it's very hard to maintenance. I mean, you can see Midway is here and there's nothing nearby, really nothing. Japan is this far away, so then you must send your cargo ships from Japan more or less directly to Midway. And the Americans, they can simply say here, okay, I put here 4 or 5 submarines, and then they always try to kill some of your cargo ships. For the Americans, the range is short, so they can send always their submarines very easy here. They also can bring battleships or whatever here nearby, and Midway is a small island. You can also see maximum 6,000 people. Nothing too great. The airport is okay, but the problem is then if the Americans send here 1 bombardment fleet per week, then Midway is always not useful. And this was also more or less the reason why the Japanese never really care Midway for a long time. Because the Japanese also realize they can take Midway, but they can normally not maintenance Midway. It's nearly impossible. So, and the Japanese you maybe can say, okay, the Japanese can go there, destroy everything, and then go home. But the problem is you cannot sink these islands. The islands are still there, and then the Americans come and say, okay, I need 1 month, and then repair everything again. To get some simple airport here and some submarine base and destroyer base, this is easy. This you can do. It was in real life. So only the Japanese, they won't only normally take Midway because if they take Midway, the Americans must act. And the Japanese idea was only simply, we take Midway, the Americans are coming soon later, then we have the base of Midway, we can use Midway for scout airplanes and some long range bomber. So we have the local air support, then we have our carriers and battleships nearby, and then we will fight it out. American battleships, American carriers, and Japanese. And then we will have this big engagement. And of course, if you simply say, okay, in June of 42, the Japanese have Midway, the Japanese have here 6 fleet carriers, and the American have 3 fleet carriers, the American have maybe 4 battleships, the Japanese have maybe also 4 battleships, but 1 Yamato battleship, then normally the Japanese would win this. And the idea was simply that after the Japanese won this big battle, the Americans will ask for peace. But this never happened, so this is only an idea. But it simply lacks the knowledge that why the Americans would strike with all their forces only to take Midway back. Because there is no must for this. This is the problem with this kind of logic. The Americans don't need Midway to win the war. It helps them, but it's not a must. So the Japanese can simply say, okay, take Midway, stay with your battle fleet here, stay here, out of range, but stay here. And how you want to support this? How you want to support battleships and carriers in Midway? Impossible. This harbor can only support destroyers and submarines, but nothing, no heavy cruisers, no battleships. So, then, sooner or later the Japanese must retreat. And this burns a lot of fuel. And if the Japanese retreat, then the Americans can come again and again and again and again. So the Japanese have to maintain here a lot of forces only for the moment that the Americans are coming. But the Americans can choose the day they come. Okay. Good. I think this is first enough. I think this is now more or less the last real preparation setup, and after that we really load my turn. Maybe talk about this. How fast you won't go here for this New Britannia, Solomon Islands area. Rabaul I would try to take fast. After Rabaul, normally I think some people they say take Rabaul, Shortlands and Tulare fast and try to build them up equally fast. Take also these two small islands because they have some resources and there's not much can stop you. Not that they really have a crazy value. You must always bring the cargo ships here and then ship these resources back to Truk and from Truk to Japan. But these three islands are normally what you need. If you take them all together or one by one, but latest in end of April you need to hold all these three islands. This is a minimum, I would say. You need to have a blocker force to not easily lose Truk. Normally the defense of Truk is Rabaul and these two other bases in the source, and in the east you have these Marshall Islands. And you have Wake. And you have Wake, Marshall Islands, and then here Tulare, Shortlands, Rabaul. Then you have a protection and everything heavy you can keep in Truk, and then you can see where's the allies coming, and then if you see they're coming, then you can bring your heavy units out. After you conquer here this area, you can maybe bring also heavy units to Rabaul because it's more close, and then you can see how they are coming. Normally don't keep your heavy units at the front line, it's simply too risky. But also don't keep them in Japan, because if the allies coming to Rabaul and your forces are in Japan, the allies have here 1 week to fight before your reinforcements can arrive. Okay, only about for tactics. And then with the submarines, this is really up to the player where he wants to keep his. At the beginning, I would say make a strong line between Hawaii and California and see how the ally player is managing his cargo ships. At the beginning, Dojo simply run many small unprotected cargo stuff. That is of course easy to pick up for my submarines. And I think later he changed to big, heavy, defended convoys. And that is then for a submarine not more so easy. It's simply less task forces on the water or in the sea, means less chance to interdict something, and if you interdict it, you always have the risk that you're running in these escort forces, and then maybe simply you find the task force but you cannot attack the task force, or if you attack the task force you maybe can sink one cargo ship and then the escorts attack you, and then maybe your submarine gets damaged. Yeah. Okay, and if your submarines from Hawaii is running out of torpedoes, running out of fuel, or gets damaged and must return, then simply maybe it's better for the long run after you conquer here Rabul and Tulagi in these islands, that you maybe try more or less to bring the submarines at the east coast of Australia, and you try to hunt here. It's more near to your bases, and you can use these submarines for both, for hunting cargo and for hunting enemy battle fleets or task forces, real battle task forces. In Hawaii, it's more or less more only cargo. Okay, I would say this is first enough, and this is really the end of my last preparation setup. And then because now we must see what I did and why I did it. I can explain it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all first for this, and see you again, and hope that hopefully Dojo can also upload some more turns, that we can see how this battle between me and Dojo continue, and how victoriously or how easy or how bloody the upcoming battles are, and that you maybe can also learn out of this something. See you all, take care, bye bye.